The Tri-State Tornado, March 18, 1925. The Tri-State Tornado that occurred in 1925 is still the single most deadly tornado in the history of the United States. It remained on the ground for approximately 219 miles, which is a nearly difficult feat for any tornado to accomplish. It struck the states of Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana. On the Fujita scale, it reached an intensity of F5 due to gusts that were estimated to be over 300 kilometers per hour. There was a near-total destruction of entire communities, including Murfreesboro, Illinois, among others. 695 people have been killed and over 2,000 more have been injured. In a matter of minutes, homes, schools, and farms were all gone. This was a time when there was no modern radar or tornado sirens, thus locals did not have any warning, which is the reason why there was such a shocking number of fatalities. The Daultpur-Saturia Tornado, April 26, 1989. Due to the country's dense population and its weak housing, Bangladesh has been hit by some of the most devastating tornadoes in the world. Frequently considered as the deadliest tornado in the history of the planet is the Daultpur-Saturia storm that occurred in 1989. It struck the Manikganj district, resulting in the deaths of approximately 1,300 people and the displacement of 80,000 others. The homes made of bamboo and tin were crushed to splinters, and entire villages vanished out of existence. It was stated by survivors that in a matter of minutes, fields that had previously been populated with dwellings and trees were completely scoured bare. An important factor that contributed to the catastrophic loss of life was the absence of early warning systems and emergency response options. The 1989 Bangladesh tornado, April 26, 1989. Similar to the calamity that occurred in Daultpur and Saturia, Bangladesh was struck by yet another tornado on the same day. This time, the Dhaka and Tangail districts were affected. According to estimates, this tornado was responsible for the deaths of more than 1,300 people, making 1989 one of the most devastating years in the history of weather in the United States. The devastation was compounded by the use of substandard building materials in communities that were already full. Villages were completely obliterated, and those who survived reported a dark cloud that swirled about and consumed all that was in its path. The combined impact of both tornadoes on the same day illustrated how dangerous storms can be in areas that do not have adequate disaster management mechanisms in place. The 1974 super outbreak, United States. The United States of America was struck by one of the most damaging tornado outbreaks in the history of the world, which occurred between April 3rd and April 4th, 1974. In just one day, 148 tornadoes manifested themselves over 13 states. A total of 30 of them achieved an intensity of F4 or F5, causing widespread destruction over the states of Kentucky, Ohio, and Indiana. Particularly impacted was the city of Xenia, which is located in Ohio. A significant portion of the city was reduced to rubble. Additionally, nearly 5,000 people were harmed as a result of the pandemic. There was a thorough cleaning of entire neighborhoods from the ground. Because of the magnitude of this catastrophe, advancements in meteorological forecasting and the creation of improved tornado warning systems across the country were made after it occurred. The Joplin Tornado, May 22, 2011. The tornado that struck Joplin, Missouri, was one of the most destructive and expensive in the modern history of the United States. On the 22nd of May, 2011, an EF5 tornado slammed across the city, causing over 1,000 people to be injured and 158 people to lose their lives. The tornado, which had a path that was nearly 1 mile wide, was responsible for the destruction of houses, schools, businesses, and hospitals. The St. John's Regional Medical Center sustained such severe damage that it was necessary to evacuate patients in the middle of the storm. Due to the fact that damages were projected to be $2.8 billion, it was the most expensive tornado in the history of the United States. A tragic consequence occurred as a result of the tornado's ferocity, and the fact that it struck a densely populated metropolitan region, despite the fact that radar warnings were issued. The 2011 super outbreak, April 25th to 28th, 2011. Just a few weeks prior to the tornado that struck Joplin, the southeastern region of the United States was hit by the most extensive tornado outbreak ever documented. 362 tornadoes made landfall in 21 states during the course of 4 days. The intensity of several of them approached EF5, causing the destruction of towns in Alabama, Tennessee, and Mississippi. Among the places that were impacted the hardest, Tuscaloosa and Birmingham were among those that saw severe destruction. There were 324 fatalities and thousands of injuries as a result of the outbreak. All by itself, Alabama was responsible for more than 200 fatalities. The extent of the destruction was so extensive that it took years to recover from it, and it brought to light the risk of many tornadoes of great intensity striking back-to-back across a large region. The Tupelo-Gainesville tornadoes, April 1936. In April 1936, 2 deadly tornadoes struck just 1 day apart, first hitting Tupelo, Mississippi, and then Gainesville, Georgia. The Tupelo tornado killed 216 people, many of them families trapped in collapsed houses. The following day, Gainesville was devastated, with 203 deaths, many occurring in a collapsed factory. Combined, the 2 tornadoes killed 419 people, making this one of the most lethal back-to-back tornado disasters in U.S. history. With no weather warnings or sirens in place, communities had no chance to prepare, and many entire families were wiped out. The Madarganj-Maniganj tornado, May 13, 1996. Another devastating tornado struck Bangladesh in 1996, this time hitting Jamalpur and Maniganj districts. The tornado killed 700 people and injured thousands. Around 30,000 homes were destroyed, and more than 50,000 people were left homeless. The sheer force of the winds ripped trees from the ground and carried people long distances. Survivors described children and livestock being lifted into the sky, never to return. This tornado remains one of the deadliest outside of the 1989 Bangladesh storms, and again demonstrated how vulnerable rural, low-income communities are to violent weather. The Great Natchez Tornado, May 7, 1840. The Great Natchez Tornado of 1840 remains the second deadliest in U.S. history. This F5 tornado roared along the Mississippi River near Natchez, Mississippi, killing 317 people. Most of the victims were caught on flatboats and steamships in the river, which were lifted and destroyed by the winds. Many drowned after being thrown into the water. The tornado then tore through the town itself, leaving behind widespread destruction. The unusual aspect of this tornado was the high number of river-related deaths, something rarely seen in other major storms. The St. Louis Tornado, May 27, 1896. The St. Louis East Street Louis tornado struck in late May of 1896, killing 255 people and injuring 1,000 more. Rated an F4, it ripped through densely populated urban neighborhoods, causing damage equivalent to $10 billion in today's money. Houses, factories, and public buildings were obliterated, and entire blocks were flattened. Because it struck a large metropolitan area, the death toll was unusually high compared to most tornadoes that devastate rural regions. Even today, it remains one of the deadliest and most destructive tornadoes in American history. If you enjoyed learning about these devastating events, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into natural disasters and their impact on human history. Stay safe and always remember, when the warnings sound, every second counts. Every second